Hello, and welcome back to the Day Luna Human Design Podcast with your host, Dana and Shayna. In this episode today, we wanted to dive into being seen and talking about the real stuff around body image and putting yourself out there in the world with the modern societal conditioning we have. Because as we move into the summer season here in the Northern Hemisphere, that energy of being external, of allowing people to see you is such an important energy. As we move into the summer solstice, the sun is in gate 15. And that energy about diversity, about celebrating the uniqueness of all of us is such potent medicine for that. Because as far as we've come in being able to create more awareness around how everyone's different, we still see these dark places like in social media where we have all of these expectations to look a certain way and to dress a certain way. And if you're not looking this way or dressing this way, you're going to have less followers. And I feel like social media can be this place where all of this awareness that we've cultivated in our regular lives just goes away because social media is like this new thing that we haven't really brought that light of awareness to, at least in our own life. So we really want to talk in this episode about understanding how important it is to allow yourself to be seen as the real you. We want to talk about the deconditioning prompts that we've been using to make sure that we're showing up as the real us. We also want to talk about looking at your sun gates and your brand and how you can really celebrate your uniqueness without letting society's conditioning put that pressure on you. And I also wanted to say that even if you're listening in the Southern Hemisphere, where now you're going into winter solstice, the sun is still in gate 15 for you. So this energy of the love of diversity in humanity, the love of extremes, the fact that we're all different is still something that you're here to really lean into as we move through these transits this month.
Yeah, and it's interesting the timing of this, in our lives. It just feels perfectly timed, at least for me, because obviously my body's been changing so much with being pregnant and this theme of um being seen in you know, physically seen as well as, just sharing my voice and sharing my insight and all the ways that I've been sharing myself throughout the years. Being seen physically and how I see myself has been a new lesson that I've been navigating throughout this pregnancy journey. And I do want to talk about that in this episode as well, just our journeys with seeing ourselves, because I think that there's two sides of it, right? There's always that external and that internal and the low and the high, but the external side of being seen and the world, and you're seeing people on social media, or you're seeing other guides and teachers and what they're doing and how they're looking, and are you good enough to be followed or respected based on how you look and all of those things. And then there's the internal side where you might be saying outwardly like, yeah, fuck capitalism and comparison, and I don't really care how other people are looking, but internally, the thoughts that you're having about how you look, the way that you're holding yourself back from sharing yourself because you feel like you're not ready yet. Like, I'll be ready to lead that course when I have the perfect wardrobe or when I'm in perfect shape. I'll be ready to take on, and launch that idea when I have, whatever X, Y, and Z around your body. And I think that's because a lot of people who are leading in general in our world are beautiful or are put together or look wealthy or whatever the thing is. And those internal thoughts, I'm for me, this has been a new challenge in my life because up until now, I've been like, I don't have a body. Like, I don't feel like that was a karmic lesson that I came to really navigate in my life of comparing my body to others. Of course, there's been times in my life where I've had those thoughts and I've, um, not been confident in how I look, of course, but it hasn't been like a big theme in my life to have to face that and have to really um uh navigate the internal side of that confidence, if you will, until now that I'm pregnant and everything with my body is outside of my control. And so the loss of control around my body has been something that has made me realize how much how uncomfortable I feel when I don't have control. And it's reflecting on, it's manifesting out of my body image, which is so interesting because everybody around me is like, you look so beautiful. You look amazing. And I look at pictures like of myself, a month ago where I thought I looked like shit. And I'm like, damn, I looked so good then. And
Mhm.
it's knowing like the, it doesn't matter to me if other people tell me that I look amazing because I feel overwhelmed with how I look because it's just so outside of my control that it feels overwhelming. Even if I
Yeah.
have a day where I look really good, that feels overwhelming. And then I have a day where I feel like a literal like marshmallow man or ogre. And I'm like, how do I control these thoughts that are so um judgmental of myself? And
Yeah.
it's like I feel this feeling of like, get your shit together. Like, go exercise, go eat well. Like, what are you doing? You could be doing more to control this situation. And Steffi, Spirit Sis, like messaged me like, it's only temporary. Like, remember, it's only temporary. And so, you know, I think that there's just so much wrapped up into this topic, like controlling ourselves to fit into some narrative that maybe we've told ourselves, or controlling ourselves to be into some sort of comfort zone when we're feeling uncomfortable, and controlling ourselves to not really be seen in exactly where we're at. So I always talk really vulnerably on this podcast, which I think, as so many people have said, like, thank you for saying that, because this, while I'm so, so grateful to be pregnant and to be bringing life into the world, there's so many internal thoughts that happen all day long that are not thoughts I've ever had before in my life. And trying to like hold the polarity of like we're going into summer and being seen, and all I want to do right now is hide away and like hide even from myself, like cover all the mirrors in the house. um it's really interesting.
Yeah, yeah, I'm really grateful for you sharing it too, because I think this conversation is just so important. And I know it can be really triggering for a lot of people. So I do want to say, if you're listening and this conversation is really triggering to you, maybe you just don't feel ready to have it, please take care of yourself. If you feel like this is not a conversation that you want to tune into, we really honor that. But for us, we have noticed so often that in our spiritual community, we're gathering with these other women and everything is on the table and we're so open about our trauma and our families. But the one thing that we still noticed people were not talking about was body image and weight gain or aging or things like that. And it was like, so everything is on the table in this space where we can really go there, but this is still the one area that it's like we don't want to talk about it because it's not spiritual, in quotes. And for us, it's really, we see that being seen in the world and allowing your uniqueness to be seen, there's a whole aspect of it that is physical, physically being seen, letting people see your face. And, in my own, we've talked about this a bit before in a previous podcast episode. We talked about body image and soul lessons, like karmic lessons. So if you haven't listened to that episode, we recommend going back. I think it can be really helpful to go on your own journey and to ask yourself, how has my physical appearance taught me certain lessons in my life? Or like Shayna was saying, up until this point, that hasn't been a focus in her karmic lessons. She's been focused on other things that she's been learning until with pregnancy. And this has been a huge shift for her. But in my own life, body image has been a really interesting piece of my journey, actually, which we, talk about that perspective, like it's all relative. That is so true, because in my family of origin, having my sister growing up, that she was a few years older than me, we went to high school together, and she's technically my stepsister. So we don't have either of the same parents, but I call her my sister because we've grown up together since I was a baby. And I've only ever known her as as my full sister. So we don't even say that we're stepsisters. We just say we're sisters, and we're both blonde. We both have blue eyes, but she is teeny tiny, only 5'3", and I'm 5'10" and much bigger than her. And I grew up with this direct comparison of me versus her together as sisters, and everyone being like, why is she so tiny and thin? And why are you so big and not thin? And that was a story that I heard my whole life because of that perspective of having her. If I didn't have her as a sister and I had, just myself to compare myself to, I think things would have been really different. But for me, at that very young age where you're kind of forming your identity and you're trying to choose your image of like how you're going to dress, like, I literally remember going through my head in high school being like, do I want to dress as a punk or as like a preppy girl or as like a surfer girl? And I literally wrote down in my journal what I wanted my image to look like, because that is, I think, really common when you're 15 years old or whatever it is. And for me, I had this added aspect of like, how do I want to be different than my sister? Because if I'm being directly compared to her, all of my guy friends were like, your sister is hot. And they're like, and you're like, okay, like you're cute, but like you're kind of chubby and blah, blah, blah. And like, I had that said to me so often that I really had to make a conscious choice in high school. Like, I can't compare myself to her. It's not healthy. And other people shouldn't compare me to her. But I really had to choose at that time. Like, I want to focus on other things besides the way I look. I really want to be interesting and I want to develop my talents and I want to be known for things outside of my body image, because I couldn't be directly compared to my sister anymore. Like, it just wasn't healthy for me. So I made a really, really conscious choice at a young age. And plus I had horrible acne. Like, I didn't have braces and my teeth weren't straight. Like, I had all these things. And I just decided, like, I'm going to sever that from being my story and I'm going to focus on these other things. And that was a huge karmic lesson for me. And later on, not living with my sister anymore, being in college, not being compared to her anymore. It's really interesting. People are like shocked that they hear that. They're like, you're so beautiful. And like, what are people even talking about? It's like, that's true. It's just the stories that we have, the ways that we compare ourselves. It's all a story. And it's so interesting to me how those stories in your head are so important. Like, we do have a lot of external pressure on us from capitalism and from patriarchal conditioning and ideas. But the strongest pressure that we have is actually the story in our own head, the thoughts that we share to ourselves. And that is actually the only thing that we have control over. And when you meet someone who is aware and conscious of their own stories inside of themselves, and they've really done the inner work to be honest, to be compassionate with themselves, to show up with vulnerability instead of trying to defend themselves and have their ego step in and try not to seem vulnerable and then try to seem really cocky or confident externally. Like, we all can feel the difference there of someone who's showing up with just this clear energy around their body image, or someone that has a lot of blockages and murkiness, even if they seem really confident on the external. And we wanted to have this conversation to help us all move more towards that authenticity, that awareness, that self-compassion internally, so that we can be pillars that show up in the online space or in the world that are bringing this, dismantling of this dangerous or harmful body image issues.
Yeah. And it's interesting, I grew up with a sister who really always said, like, I don't care what I look like. I don't care about, like, I don't need to dress professional. I don't need to wear, anything. She wore baggy t-shirts and baggy jeans and never wore makeup, never shaved, never did her hair or anything like that. And it was coming from a place of like, um, fuck you, don't look at me kind of place. Right.
Yeah,
And I see that a lot in the narrative of like, you shouldn't care what you look like, right? But that comes, I think, a lot of times from a place of caring so deeply what you look like that now you're choosing to be like, I don't care at all. And you're going on the opposite end of the spectrum, but it's still coming from a place of internalized, um, not accepting yourself internally, because
totally.
our appearance and the way that we look, loving it, nurturing it, expressing ourselves creatively through that, through how we connect with other people. And there was always something there that I would sit with and be like, well, but the way that we're perceived, this was before human design, then attracts the right people to us or not the right people. And like you can attract, like, getting really clear on like who are the types of people that you're wanting to attract. And it was always the messaging of like, you shouldn't care about that, that's
Mhm.
superficial.
Right.
And I was always trying to find like what the deeper thing, like, is that superficial, is that, should I not care about who I attract? But deep down I had this feeling of like, everything is energy. And our frequency, if we have this frequency of avoidance and pushing away out of fear, we're going to attract other people who are living in avoidance and fear, maybe of something completely different. Versus if we're just vulnerable and open and creative and sharing ourselves and letting our light be seen, even when it's messy, even when it's not perfect, right? Like I've never felt more messy in my life than I do right now, and I'm like 7 years into my human design experiment, right? So many things in my life look like they're so great. Like you have a successful business and you're holding these successful retreats, and you have all the freedom that you want to work when you want. And while all of that is incredibly amazing privilege that I've had and the blessings that I've had, it's all true. I'm also married and in love with my husband, and we're starting our family, and like, right, all of it just sounds like storybook on paper, but internally I feel like a freaking mess. Like I have so many things going on internally. And then inside there's still that, always that intention of trying to honor what I feel on one hand in all of its messy, raw, vulnerable, not able to be controlled way, and uh, finding the lessons within all the things that I'm feeling of, oh, this is showing you, bitch, that you're still trying to micromanage and control a lot of things in your life. And having that intention of, okay, how can I take what I have here and alchemize it and use it as something that empowers me versus something that um, holds me back or keeps me playing small or keeps me from being seen or keeps me in fear and like hiding and running away, right? So many things I feel like on social media or in podcasts, it's like redirecting you towards something else, but you can see that there's something different going on under the surface. And that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the things that are going on under the surface versus like the redirect. And how can we shine our light on those things and be seen in those things, because those things are going to be your sparkle. Those things are going to be the things that are so magnetic because it's just so authentic, right? It's not compared, it's not contrived, it's not showy and trying to you know, distract you from what's really there under the surface. So it almost feels like a catch 22 of of okay, your appearance does matter, but like what is it that you're really showing? Are you like, you can lean into your creativity there, of course, and we're going to talk about different ways that you can do that. But is it authentic and real? Like really asking those questions, like where is this coming from inside of me? Is it coming from a place of fear and like not wanting to dig deeper? So I'm just gonna like slap some, a filter on here and slap some shit on there and not even talk about those things. It's really interesting. But yeah, I know I can hear like in my head people being like, you're pregnant, you're fine, like get over it. Everybody gains weight when they're pregnant. Everybody swells up. Everybody, all the things. And I see on Instagram like people who are just like, this is amazing. This is my body. Like my body is building life. And so when I'm restoring fat, it's incredible. And I love that my body can do this. And it's like, yes, I'm so proud of you. But like, where's the person who is saying like that's happening? And also it feels so fucking wild and like out of control. And like it feels like a deep a deeper patriarchal conditioning that I didn't even know I had being revealed. Like there's
Mhm.
just so much in all the things. So the main message that I feel in this podcast is like, what's the authentic thing that maybe you might be running away from, that you might be hiding? Can you show that? Because that authenticity, that realness is what is like, can't be copy and paste, copy and
Yeah.
pasted, if that makes sense.
Totally. And I think that when we talk about these big issues, there's so many ways to look at the same issue, right? On one hand, it's this, on the other hand, it's that, like that duality. And I think that in general, the things that are healthiest in our life have balance. And actually, a lot of your human design chart is showing you how to have balance from two polarity forces, right? And even with this idea of body image, like I feel like one side of it is like loving and accepting yourself exactly as you are, like flaws and all the things, right? The other side of that polarity is loving yourself enough to address the things that are bothering you and own them and be honest about them and take action and maybe even better yourself or decorate yourself in a certain way or adorn yourself in a certain way. Like there's this polarity between those two things. And the balance that's healthy for you is going to be authentic for you. You have to feel what your real truth is. And I think when we do that inner work to ask those real questions, to get real with ourselves, and to also love on ourselves and improve ourselves and do the things that make us fall in love with who we are instead of hiding. It's like when you do all of that inner work in your own sphere and your own unique balance, and then you show up in the world, it hits different. It just does. Like people can
Yeah.
feel that authenticity within you. And it's inspiring for others, like for you to be honest about something and also to have whatever your unique balance is.
Yeah. I think a big aha for me in this journey has been like, wait, is it normal for people to have thoughts about themselves all day long that aren't positive about their appearance and about how they look? Like, is it normal for people to have shameful thoughts all the time? And I think that it is. I think that the majority of people throughout their day will have like a thought pop in here from something that they see or from a conversation that they had. And it's so accepted. Like, that's
Mhm.
just my day to day, like, yep. And there's no questioning of like, wait, am I beating myself up internally? And now I'm like trying to cover that up somehow. I think that our thoughts, like really paying attention to those thoughts and kind of taking that inventory of like, is this raising my vibration or lowering my vibration? Is
Mhm.
this, am I hiding this somewhere and sweeping it under the rug? And I'm not even really fully addressing that I'm thinking this way a lot of times. I've heard so much about, people struggling with body image my whole life. And now I'm kind of like, hold on, there's so many thoughts that happen in a day. And getting real with yourself, like, what's that? The first step is like, um, getting rid of denial, like having awareness and having that awareness and addressing the fact that our thoughts are powerful. What are your thoughts really telling you? And honestly, though, there's gold there. There is empowerment there. It just can't be swept under the rug as like, this is normal and this is okay and this is fine. And nobody knows that I'm thinking these things because on the outside, I'm projecting that I'm this way. But there is that sense of falseness that I can sense, and so many people, I'm sure that everyone can. And that sense of falseness, I feel is what's holding most people back from their most abundant, their most successful, their most joy-filled life.
I just Googled this because I read the statistic the other day, but as humans, we have around 60,000 thoughts every single day.
That's insane.
60,000. I don't know how they count that. This is according to the National Science Foundation,
Yeah,
but
how do they count that?
60,000, like I feel like all my thoughts are a run-on sentence. They're not individual thoughts, but 60,000 thoughts a day, like geez. And then it says out of that, the average person has about 80% of their thoughts are being negative thoughts.
Wow.
80% is average.
Yeah.
That is wild. And I mean, who's doing the study, which people are they studying. Like, I feel like these are very objective numbers, but I do think that those internal thoughts that we have, just being aware of them, being honest with it, like that is going back to like mindfulness and awareness 101. But
Yeah.
it's the internal thing that people can't see that matters the most, because it builds that foundation up within you. And, Instagram gives us this opportunity to completely curate this version of us that people see, which is really interesting because in the highest expression, that is a form of artistic expression, to be able to curate what people are seeing, the things that you're actually putting out there. But there's this whole internal thing, like, are 80% of our thoughts actually negative? Like, how do we increase that number of positive thoughts? How do we become more compassionate to ourselves? And then when we show up, we bring that energy into the world and spark that for other people. And we wanted to talk about in this episode, like some big points to think about in the way that you are showing up in the world, things that we can really take responsibility for, and actually start to make change and showing up more authentically, allowing ourselves to be seen in a way that can help heal people instead of triggering other people with our inauthenticity or the, hiding even when we are allowing ourselves to be seen. So the first thing that we want to talk about is this conditioning of capitalism. Like, we live in this capitalistic society where you are always trying to be sold something. And even going back to Instagram, like, I know I'm talking about it a lot, but I feel like it's a really big part of our everyday life that we haven't fully digested yet, because it's quite new as far as like the spectrum of society. And, even on Instagram, you are constantly being sold ads of hair products and skin products and, things that you can do for somatic weight loss and like all of these different things, nutrition stuff. Like, your entire Instagram that is meant to be this platform for self-expression, for sharing your message and for allowing the world to see you, has this other side of it built in that is selling you products to help you feel better about yourself and the way that you look and more in control of all of that. And that's not necessarily a negative thing in and of itself, but there is definitely this messaging that you are not enough, and that what you are naturally can be enhanced by buying this thing, whatever it is. And just having that awareness of that in your own life, I feel like is so important. And for all of us non-sacral beings that have an undefined sacral, that not self of not enoughness is so strong in the world. And I feel like capitalism and marketing really preys upon that feeling of like, you're not enough, but if you buy this thing, maybe you'll get closer, but then you buy that thing and you're not, then it's not enough. And I will speak to my own not enoughness, not self in my life. I've really, really seen myself go in these vicious spirals before, where I felt like if I could just fix my acne and get rid of that, like I would feel like enough. And then my acne finally cleared up 2 years later. And then I had a new thing to obsess over. If I could just fix my teeth, then I'll feel like enough. Then I fix my teeth and get Invisalign. Then if I could just lose weight, then I'll feel like enough. And I've proven to myself that not self of not enoughness is only something that you can stop. And there are, capitalistic forces that are preying upon that. But when you heal that internally on your own, then people selling something becomes a neutral force in your life, not something that you feel like is attacking you or swaying you, because you're empowered as a sovereign being.
Yeah, and then those things are a choice of like, is this something that's adding to my life that feels really good and supportive for me and is expanding me? Or is this coming from a place of not enoughness and trying to fill that void? And I do want to say, even if you have a defined sacral here, this conditioning is so huge. We talked about the godheads a lot in our retreat training and in Mexico. And this is a whole other topic, and it's a really deeper layer of human design, but it talks about our conditioning forces collectively as humanity. And one of them being this not enoughness, and like, you just need this to be enough, and like, you need to learn more to be enough, you need to buy this or do this or say this or whatever to finally be good enough, or to be supported enough. And you need this, right? You need that. All of our needs not being met endlessly on a spiral. And the way that you really break that is through noticing when you are consuming things from a place of not enoughness versus empowerment and expansion and like feeding your soul kind of frequency. And it's so funny because this not enoughness is literally built into every single corner of our society. Right now, we're
Yeah.
doing the nursery. And I was just saying to Brian, like, why does every fucking tool need a tool to use the fucking tool? Like, if you were like caulking, some like wood, but you need a caulking gun to use the caulking then. And then to be able to do that, you need like a little putty knife to be able to do that thing. And like literally every single tool just to build, physical things on the physical plane. That's why there's toolkits that have like 5,000 freaking things, because if you want to screw this into the wall in a way that's sturdy, then you're going to need this and you're going to need that and you're going to need this. Like you don't have enough. Everything needs something else. It's like, even if it's an inanimate object, it needs something else.
Can
I'm
we talk
like, are
about
you
can we
kidding?
talk about iPhone chargers, like a charging cord, but then you have like a different one if you have a new iPhone, so you have a different one from your partner's iPhone charging cord, and then you need a
Yes.
different cord for your ear pods because they changed it like a month later. And like that not
Yeah.
enoughness is a part of capitalism. Like you have to buy this thing, you have to buy that thing. Like you
And
never
if you
have
want a
just
faster
what you need.
charge, you need a bigger freaking, I keep calling them butts, but what are they called? Like
Like a charging brick.
a brick. I keep being like, you need a bigger butt to get a bigger charge. And like literally, if you have a smaller brick, then that the USB thing plugs into, then it's going to charge slower. But do you have enough time? Like it is so like literally everywhere, even with recording this podcast. Like you have to have this, Zoom account, and you have to have it at a certain tier, and then you have to have the freaking extension that plugs into the mic and blah blah blah. And my alien soul from like the future is like, what are these physical things? My thoughts, we should just be communicating
Same.
telepathically here, all together on a certain frequency. But
Which we're on our way to
I
that, but for
digress.
now we're here with all of the things. And just
Yeah.
knowing that, I feel like just knowing that though, and being at peace with it and being aware of it and having this conversation, I do believe it's important because we become empowered. We heal our not enoughness. And then our Instagram ads can be like totally neutral or even helpful. Like sometimes I feel like my Instagram ads know me so well. That's the exact thing I was actually looking for. And then it's brought to me. So it's not that the Instagram ads are like
So
a
true.
negative force in our life that is, going to bring us down unless we allow it to be. It's up to us, right? But we have the awareness to change that. We have the empowerment to change it. And kind of the next thing that I wanted to talk about with being seen is that representation is so important. And you never know by just showing yourself as you truly are, who you are being a voice for and who you are representing for. Like for Shayna, sharing her truth about pregnancy, we don't know who that's going to impact. And it's really not up to us to figure that out. But we know that we have to share our authentic truth because we have seen in our own life when someone else stood up and was able to be who they are with vulnerability, the way that it has liberated us. I can think of so many people in my life that seeing them in a bikini, totally rocking it with clear, authentic energy, changed my life. It made me feel like I have permission to be in a bikini as my authentic self, clear and pure, just being who I am. I can think of women in my life that are older, that are aging with so much love and pure, clear authenticity, honesty, and like beautiful energy behind it. And it has changed my life and given me this representation of what I strive to be or making me feel okay to be who I am. And it's funny that we all can be that for one another. You never know who you are going to inspire by allowing yourself to be that. But I encourage you to think about in your own life, who are the people who have shown up as their true selves and felt like they have given you permission to be your true self? By thinking about that and journaling on that, you see that there are many people, whether you know them in person or you follow them online, that feel like they have changed your life by just being who they are and showing up with authenticity behind that. So thinking about the fact that you can be that for other people when you do this inner work and you challenge yourself to be seen exactly as you are.
And the truth is that you are being that for other people, whether you have intention around it or not, whether you have authenticity around it or not. So the more that you are inauthentic or hiding something, the more you create that energy of people feeling like, oh, I gotta hide my shit too because I don't want to be too much or be embarrassing or be whatever. So choosing to then show up in that empowering, authentic, vulnerable, real, messy, whatever, and knowing that your impact, whether it's a conversation with a friend or, a podcast that you record or something on a bigger platform, you're impacting people all the time, all day long. So the best gift that you can give to other people is checking in with, is am I being authentic? Am I walking the walk? Am I authentically honoring myself? Because it's just so important. Gosh, I could talk about that forever because we were just talking about at the retreat, when you're like a spiritual leader, and we've seen so many spiritual leaders in, this space that are teaching on one hand, but then in their real life, they're really not applying the things that they're teaching at all. And it's almost like their students are benefiting more from the stuff that they're teaching than they are, because they're just so focused on their business and capitalism and creating content and all of the things. And so really having the intention ourselves to make sure that not only are we teaching these things, but we're really truly applying them and leaning into them and experimenting with these things ourselves, not just from a place of authority or leadership that we see so many times in the world. So it goes into every level of life, right? Not just body image, but body image is such a big part of it because it's literally we're seeing and observing people physically, how they're expressing themselves, and if there's something underneath that maybe isn't authentic.
Yes. Okay. So, and the next point we wanted to talk about is kind of what Shayna was saying in the beginning of letting go of the conditioning that aesthetics or the physical is not spiritual. That is also a conversation that we have in our spiritual space is like, it's vain to care about what you look like it's vain to shop or to adorn yourself in a certain way. And just feeling like that's not okay to express yourself. But it can truly be an art form, the way that you adorn yourself. If it comes from authenticity and joy and love and celebrating your uniqueness, it can be a language that attracts the correct people for you, the way that you show up, the way that you dress, etc. And also, it can be such a creative art form for you. And we all have met people like that too, that their style is totally an art form. Like I follow this girl that's a stylist, and instead of calling it the outfit of the day, she calls it your outfit offering of the day, because what you show up in can be a gift to other people as well. For example, the color you wear being a color medicine, the necklace you wear being something that you're just walking through the airport and someone sees it and you strike up a conversation because the beauty of that adornment of that jewelry then attracts you together and opens up a portal of connection for you. So it is not a negative thing in any way to love expressing yourself through your art form of your outfits or your jewelry or the way that you style your hair. All of that, it can totally be a beautiful gift that I think that people can really lean into, especially depending on certain aspects of your chart. If you have gate 8, if you have gate 1, or even gate 48, if you have outer vision as your cognition or even inner vision. But even still, everyone can express themselves in this way that can truly be something that is beautiful, and we can transmute a lot of the negativity that we've had around that and bring back celebrating being in a physical body in the physical form, which I think that beauty is such an amazing part of being in a human body and a human experience. It's mind-blowing that we have created even shame around that in this spiritual space. So we really wanted to share that, like letting go of that conditioning and being authentic for yourself. Now, on the other side of that, you might feel like it doesn't inspire you or spark joy to dress beautifully in this moment. And you might really want to show up in sweatpants with no makeup on. And if that's your truth, then that's going to be more powerful for you. That's going to attract, once again, the right soul people to you. So there's no shame in it either way. It's about being authentic with what feels real and right for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause for me, it's like I want to feel comfortable. And when I feel comfortable, when I feel cozy, when I feel like I don't have to work to put this outfit on, I feel the most beautiful and I feel the most free. And then I attract people who feel beautiful and free, whether they're dressing themselves in, a bunch of jewelry or not, doesn't matter. So it's all about the frequency behind it. And then the next thing we want to talk about is leaning into your sun gates to get grounded in how you are meant to be seen. And this is huge because it helps you to get out of your physical and into your energetic, like that frequency behind it. So, really looking at what your sun gates are and lean into them, because this is literally what the world is needing from you the most. It's how you are meant to be seen and like shine your light in this world. Your sun gates are a huge part of your design. It's like the biggest part of your design. And if you have already gone on the journey of experimenting with your strategy and authority, understanding your type, I would encourage you, and understanding your undefined centers and defined centers, your profile, right? Like we would say start there, but then exploring your sun gates, because it's a part of your cross of incarnation. It's a part of your life purpose, but it helps you to get into your sparkle, if you will, and be seen and shine your light. So, for example, Dana's sun gates are gate 29 and gate 8. And this is really wanting to connect with other people with beauty and with things that are interesting and inspiring and cool, and wanting to share things that are interesting and inspiring and helpful and that are going to raise our vibration with other people in a very deeply intimate and committed way. And my sun gates are gate 1 and gate 7. Gate 1 is all about creating things and gate 7 is all about leading towards a better future and a better outcome. So really stepping into my leadership around what are the things that we can create to guide us into a better way of doing things, guide us into a better future, leave behind a legacy of change and growth and transformation.
Yeah. And while we've been talking a lot about the physical side of our body and showing up, when we lean into these sun gates, it grounds you like nothing else. This is who I am. This is who I want to share as the main forefront of whatever offering I'm creating, whatever video I'm creating, whatever podcast I'm sharing. If you come to it with your sun gates, you feel like yourself, and it's going to be the most impactful thing for other people to receive. So, in this conversation that has been so multifaceted, I feel like there can be a lot of confusion. Like, where do I even start? How do I get grounded in my authenticity as I show up from this place? This is how. Leaning into your sun gates is how you get grounded in your authenticity. And then from that place, you can add on, how do I want to adorn myself? Or how do I want to show up in whatever I'm wearing, including sweatpants? Like those other layers build really nicely when you've really gone on the journey of grounding yourself into your sun gates.
Yes. And so just with these examples of ours, if I was starting from scratch, allowing myself to focus on my creativity, allowing myself to focus on my leadership and not being shy around being a leader, letting myself be seen as a leader of my family and my friends, sharing what I see with other people, and obviously in a projector way based on your type, right? In a way that is going to honor your strategy, but creating and starting to focus on that creation of like what do I feel is needed to be created here? And how can I share that with other people and be seen as a creative, right? Focusing on that kind of helps you to be, yeah, like Dana said, grounded and liberated from all of the other pressure that you might feel of why you need to hide away and why maybe you're not worthy of being seen yet. When we talked about, not wanting to put yourself out there or you know, host that dream thing or build that dream thing because you don't look a certain way, or because who's going to respect you if you're overweight or if you're unattractive or if you're poor, or whatever negative things and thoughts and reasons that you might have in your head for not wanting to be seen and respected. Focusing on these things can kind of get you out of that and just into more of your power, into more of your brand, if you will. And naturally, you'll be attracting people without needing to be like, am I worthy of attracting people, if that makes sense?
Yeah, and with my sun gates, gate 21 being is also like this energy of saying yes to life.
29.
And
Yeah.
sorry, is that what I said?
You said 21, but yeah,
Oh,
29.
29. This energy of saying yes to life, this energy of contagion and being deeply committed to things in a way that is just contagious to other people, knowing that about myself and letting myself just be obsessed with whatever it is that I've committed to and sharing that process has been something that's so liberating for me. But also gate 8, my other sun gate, is really specifically about aesthetics and the way that things look and my unique taste about what I think is cool or interesting or beautiful. And that has been one of the most liberating gifts actually for me. And, what I was talking about of in high school, deciding that aesthetics weren't important to me and the way that I looked wasn't important to me was really directly going against a lot of my truth in certain ways. And it was quieting my voice and my frequency and allowing myself to share what I find beautiful or interesting or cool as a unique individual, separate from what society's trends are, has been so inspiring for me. I feel like I have so much more to share when I lean into that. I feel like I have so much more I want to be seen in when I lean into that. And going even further, you can look at the line expression of your sun gates, which we're going to do. We've done a mini course in Besties this month where you can really look at this when we're talking about brand and your conscious sun gate. We really want to look at the line expression because it's going to tell you a lot about the best way for you to really utilize your energy, share your energy so that you can solidify your brand. And this idea of brand is all about image. It's all about the way that people are seeing you. It's about the colors that you're using in your marketing. It's about the font, but it's also about you. Your brand is you. Your brand is your uniqueness and your unique frequency. And that is your motherfucking superpower. There is no comparison because you are absolutely unique. So the more that we get into that, I feel like this comparison theme that can be so strong in this image of body issues, body image and comparison just melts away when we're really focused on who we are. So just for example, like with Shayna and I, we're both 2/4s. So our conscious sun gate is expressed through point 2, right? The second line. And that's all about passion and image. That's the way that we express our uniqueness in our brand, in the way that the world sees us, in the way that we share ourselves and let ourselves be seen. So for us, this passion that we have in whatever we're doing is the most important thing, period. We need to let people see us in our passion. And if we're not actually feeling passionate about something, it's not going to work. It's not going to have traction. It's not going to be magnetic in our brand. And we really have to be honest with ourselves about that in order to show up with our authenticity. Now, also that image side is specifically anyone that has this 2 here. So if you're a 2/4 or if you're a 2/5, image is huge for you. The way that something looks, the visuals of it is part of your empowerment. It's part of your expression. So if you've been hiding from that and having this story that image is not important because it's not spiritual or the way something looks doesn't have any significance, it's much more about the energy of it, then you're really going against your own authenticity. And of course, the different 6 lines have very different themes about how you're meant to really share yourself or be seen in the world.
Yes. So if you want to learn what your line expression is here and how you can express yourself with your own personal brand, you can join us in Besties this month. You can find that on our website, daylunalife.com, but it's called Your Human Design Besties. And we have a ton of mini courses there that teach you so many things about human design. It really is an incredible resource, like probably over $3,000 worth of courses within that, and it's only $33 a month. So it's just an amazing offering that we're so passionate about, but we really wanted to dive in with our besties this month to talk about how you can really express yourself in the way that is most aligned for you. So it's amazing, but even just knowing that about ourselves, passion, being passionate about our work must always be there. Not just, will this do? Is it going to make money? Does it make sense? That's never going to work, right? It's never going to attract the right people to us. So even in this context of body image, am I passionate about the things that I'm putting on my body? Am I passionate about the thoughts that I'm having? And really checking in with that, right? All of this can be applied to so many different layers of your life. So really what we want to leave you with is think about 3 things that you absolutely love and lean into those things. just for the fun of this month of June and this summer solstice and really wanting to nurture your expression, what are 3 things that you absolutely just love? For us, that's been crystals and cacao and robe life and being cozy, comfy, but also luxurious, comfy bitches. So leaning into those in a way that just feels nurturing and beautiful has been something that also feels really expansive and grounding in our lives. Um, and yeah, anything else you want to add there, Dana?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that give yourself permission to not make sense. As human design readers, we knew from the beginning, like we're passionate about crystals and cacao and robe life, and we love those things so much. We just want to share them, even though it has nothing to do with human design. And in our own way, we've found ways to weave this into what we're doing. And it's become over time part of our brand, which is honestly our dream lives, that being who we are, being in love with what we're drawn to, allowing people to see us in that, it has become our brand. It feels like the most beautiful hug ever. And it feels really good to know that you're not copying someone else or comparing yourself. And as we've mentioned in this entire podcast, we're not perfect. We're still on the journey of it. We're always checking in with ourselves, but giving yourself permission to not make sense and to just be who you are for all of the reasons we've talked about today is medicine in the world. So we are really grateful that you've tuned in to this episode and gone on this journey with us. We think it's really important and maybe kind of an unexpected conversation for some people, but we think something that can be very liberating, especially as we're moving into this gate 15, love of diverseness, and getting even more real with ourselves about this realm. So thank you for tuning in today. We hope that you have a beautiful rest of your day where you express your uniqueness and you go on this deeper journey with love and compassion, knowing that this is actually one of the most universal things that we share as human beings is being in a physical body and other people seeing us and being this spiritual being that is an energy being, but that lives in the world of physicality. How do we navigate the material plane as our true selves? Like, this is something we all share in common, and it is unifying. It is part of our oneness, even though we are all completely unique. So, holding that in your heart, knowing that you're never alone, knowing that when you do allow yourself to be seen, you promote unity, you promote healing and growth for everyone, not just for yourself. So, thank you for going on that journey. And we'd love to hear what this episode brought up for you. You can DM us, reach out to us on our Instagram, which is at DayLuna. You can connect with us in our Your Human Design Besties membership. We love connecting with our besties and meeting in ceremonies and gatherings each month. That's an amazing time where we get to work together with these different things. Like this month, we're really focusing on putting ourselves out there, being seen, and understanding the specificity of our unique brand based on our design. So that's an amazing place to go deeper and also to be able to share with other people. So we'd love to see you in HD Besties. You can find that on our website, which is daylunalife.com. And if you've enjoyed this podcast and you love tuning in, we want to invite you to leave us a review that really supports us and helps us in this journey. Plus, we absolutely love being able to read those reviews. It makes us feel so interconnected. It's such a gift to us. So if you feel called to do that, you're invited to do so. And I hope that you have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you for tuning in with us today. If you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe to follow along and learn more about human design.